when Clarkston Baptist Church was established. It was just a simple white wooden structure, and it was established because there was too much distance between Rehoboth Baptist Church and Indian Creek Baptist Church. There needed to be a Southern Baptist Church in the middle for people that couldn't travel the distance to either Rehoboth or Indian Creek Baptist. And so there used to be a train coming through Clarkston, and the church was established nearby the train tracks. And then, like a lot of churches, it went through various seasons of growth and decline. But in the 1950s, I believe it was 1952, a very traditional brick, stained glass, kind of your traditional pews type of worship center was built with some educational space. And then in the early 60s, the Harris Building, which was a 3-story education building, was added. I think at one time, Clarkston Baptist Church had over 45 classrooms that used to be full every single Sunday, the 1950s, 60s, and 70s. And then Clarkston began to change.
It was almost an all-white church. As time went on, the community started changing. We had refugees coming in, different races coming in, and some of the people just decided to live.
Once Ronald Reagan signed the Refugee Resettlement Act, Clarkston was chosen as a town for refugees to be resettled in. So in the 80s and 90s, a lot of refugees' families were being resettled into Clarkston, and the community really started changing. Clarkston Baptist Church saw what was happening, and unfortunately, a lot of people ended up leaving for various reasons. The church went from about 500 members to about 50 members in just a few years.
The way Bill Perrin put it is God was pruning the church, and he was getting ready to move us into the current time frame where we had different races and different people.
And that decline really accelerated in the 90s when the quota of refugees that we allowed to come to our country nationally was raised significantly. And then in the 90s, the refugees were coming from Somalia, Liberia, Sudan, especially with the Somali refugees. Now they're a foreigner, dark skin, and Muslim. And a lot of people at Clarkston Baptist Church just decided that this was no longer the community where they wanted to live and where they wanted to worship.
Once that happened, there was only about 50 members left, and they knew, okay, if we don't make any changes, then eventually our church is going to disappear. We call those 50 members the faithful 50 because they looked around at their community and they said, you know what, we've read our Bibles, and our Bibles tell us to make disciples of all nations and to love our neighbors.
They were the ones who really kept the church going at a time when it was very difficult, and then were courageous enough to say, we'll do whatever it takes to change in order to become a church that reaches this very diverse community that we call Clarkston. And it took a lot of courage. It took a lot of faith. Yes, some left. A good number of them left. Those who stayed, however, became the core of the leadership of CIBC.
Okay, I'm holding a plaque from the church. This was arranged to be made by Bill Perrin. It shows that I served as a deacon at Clarkston International Bible Church and at Clarkston Baptist Church for 43 years. And I was asked in 1977 to become a deacon. And I was over in Spain when they had the deacon training. So my wife, Merle, with us, went to the training for me. And then she later became a deacon herself.
This remnant of people loved the community of Clarkston, opened their arms and opened their heart to the plight of the refugees and immigrants that were coming to our community. And the remnant really preserved the life, the legacy, and the ministry of Clarkston Baptist Church. Had it not been for that remnant, Clarkston Baptist Church would have ceased to exist. But the remnant, they did many things that I think were just absolutely incredible. They did open up the doors of our church so that other congregations of different ethnicities could have a place to worship. And so over the course of time, somewhere between 15 to 20 different ethnic congregations were able to start their fellowship in our facility. We helped to give birth to the Vietnamese church, Ethiopian church, Liberian church, a couple different Nepali churches, several Burmese churches. And it was just a beautiful kingdom-minded use of space. That remnant also allowed our church building to be utilized for English classes for DeKalb Perimeter College. And then other organizations were able to rent space in our facility. And many of them did really good work among the international community. However, it was difficult for the size of CIBC and to support all the activity and the work that it was doing. And that led to a lot of conversations. Is there another chapter in the story? Is Clarkston Baptist Church going to survive?
Were they going to merge with another Baptist church, which was not so far away? Were they going to sell the property? And the other consideration was, should we merge? I think they thought about it for a while. And should we merge with the Filipino because they're growing,
We were approached by the leadership of Clarkston Baptist Church because some of their members already left the church. So they asked us if we can join together because their membership actually is going down. So we said we'll pray for it. And God's answer is we merged. So we did merge in 2004, together with an African church.
In 2004, Clarkston Baptist Church officially became Clarkston International Bible Church, where they merged into one church. And it's really cool to see just over the years how our church has changed, but that theme of making disciples of all nations and loving our neighbors has been a consistent theme through all the years. Just to see God's hand moving and to see how our church is growing and changing, and more people from so many different countries and languages and people groups are joining our church and representing the kingdom of God and worshiping Jesus that way.
That's the way heaven's going to be. It's going to be different races and people from all over. And when you're here and get used to our church, you're just preparing for the future.
Well, it's a step of faith, It's because we didn't know moving forward what would be to be a congregation with a mix of culture, different nation. So, but we trusted God. We know that He is faithful, and it only requires faithfulness and trust. And so that's, I guess, what kept us going, into the merger.
There are a lot of challenges. We have to revise the bylaws. We have to choose the leadership of the new church, which is now called Clarkston International Bible Church. And also during that time, we only have an interim pastor. So that's also one of our goals. But the main goal really was to have these new bylaws for Clarkston International Bible Church.
When we organized the thing, what was good about it is there was participation from the three churches that merged. The old leadership of CBC were still there, and I'm talking about these people that you will meet. You will meet Charles, for example. these people. We were involved, in other words, in the running of the church. You know, we were not, and so we felt like we were really a part of everything, you know, like part of one that is not, we were not just one that was taken and brought into something that is already existent. We created, I will have to say, we created CIBC.
We are not only connected to Filipinos, which was huge, but also to the rest of the world. And it's been an amazing journey. And we've seen true faith at work. We've seen people being willing to change, being willing to say, look, whatever it takes, we're going to make this happen. Even as hard as it was, even as through the difficult times, they stayed firm. And as a result, today, 20 years later, we really do have a vibrant church. It's not a big church, probably never will be a mega church. That doesn't matter. What matters is the faithfulness of the people here and the fact that God has brought us together in the way that He has. And I think when people come in and visit CIBC or take a look at what's happening here, they would have to say, it takes God's hand at work to make this happen. And I would agree with that wholeheartedly.
Even though we're a pretty small church, there just seems to always be so much happening, so much ministry going on. We're also just strategically located in such a diverse community with so many people from all over the world. Just a huge opportunity for the gospel.
Back when we came, these senior adult members, long time Clarkston residents, this was home to them. They were already doing some amazing mission work. And I say senior adults. Ruth Sutley was running the Home Sweet Home, and she was amazing.
Ruth Sutley, she ran Home Sweet Home, which was a furniture distribution ministry. And some of my favorite stories about Miss Ruth, seeing someone throw out furniture and a sofa or chairs, and she would literally get men in the church to go over with pickup trucks, pick up the junk furniture, take it to the basement of Home Sweet Home, where she had a whole array of fabric and tools, and she would refinish and refurbish the furniture and then give it away to families in need. And so Miss Ruth, she was a little powerhouse. She often led singing for us on Sunday evening Bible study and Wednesday night prayer meeting, knew literally every single hymn in the hymn book, and was just an absolute joy, a beautiful servant of the Lord.
We used to always do a wonderful lunch every Sunday after church. We'd have a potluck, and it was wild.
Yeah, Frank Hill was our chef, so there you go.
Oh my!
And big buffet. And the good thing about that is everybody got to sit around at round tables, mm-hmm. and after you listened to me preach and sit down there and shut up and listen, there was an opportunity to fellowship and get to talk to everybody and know each other. And that was a wonderful connection point mm-hmm. for everybody who was coming in new. Yeah. And everybody that was old timers that wanted to get together and meet each other.
And you were introduced to everybody else's food. You learned to love everybody, different style of cooking.
I thought my mission, quote unquote, mission career was over when we left the Philippines. And what I found out, that God had something even larger in a sense when we became involved in what became CIBC and began to see the nations. From loving and feeling at one with Filipinos, I began to fall in love with Sudanese, Burmese, and the multiple ethnicities that make up Clarkston.
So by God's grace, one of the things when I came here, we really wanted to be strategically involved in some of the Piedmont Tech and Georgia State University's Clarkston campus. And so we've just seen God do a good work there and trying to help lead and strategically engage there, help pour into a lot of our younger men and trying to help develop some more strategic mission sending pipelines. So we've got 5 kind of global strategic partnerships, and so help strengthen those and help give some just leadership to those partnerships. So and then just help with a variety of things with pastoral care and preaching and teaching ministries.
When we first came to CIBC, I immediately got involved with the children's ministry, but not often teaching, but primarily working at the desk, figuring out who the kids were, who the parents were, checking them in, checking them out, which was a wonderful opportunity for me to get to know many of the families in the church. Learn their names quickly and build relationships with the new people that were visiting. And it was just a very special couple of years being able to do that when my children were all small. And then I got involved with citizenship. Again, my kids were small, but it was something in which there's 100 questions. So it wasn't a lot of prep for me. I knew that in that stage of life, I didn't have time to be ESL teacher because I didn't have time to do weekly prep. But I was able to prep things for the citizenship class once and then just be able to pour into other people that came and help them. Probably at least over 10 people have passed the citizenship test.
So one of the ministries out of CIBC is called New Neighbor Care, and it's a ministry focused on loving and serving and connecting with new families that are coming into Clarkston, new neighbors. And so we do simple things like try and meet practical needs where we can, whether that's creating hygiene kits or giving diapers to new moms. But even more so, it's meeting spiritual needs as well, building long-term relationships with families so that they can see the love of God and know who He is through our love. So we've gotten to make a lot of different connections with new families coming into Clarkston, and with hopes of seeing people join our church and join our faith. So that's just been a cool way to see how Clarkston. How CIBC is impacting our community by loving new neighbors that are coming in to our community.
Because we could not begin to name all the churches that have come and helped us, the mission teams and the association and so many people, but they would come and do haircuts or give shoes, kids going back to school with shoes.
Christmas presents.
Oh, Christmas presents. The Marines gave us all new bicycles one year.
Had a whole gym full of bicycles to give away one year.
People have just blessed us, and we've been able to be the funnel and to see the blessings of kids' faces and the parents, how it's helped them just to cope being in a new world.
There was all this learning loss. I was able to step in 2021 and begin the academic track of Camp Encounter, and I've served as the coordinator for that track, helping the kids improve their reading and math skills over the summer. 3 out of the 4 summers since the pandemic with Camp Encounter.
We were asked to start a small group in our community because they had targeted several families, most of them Filipino, some of them bicultural marriages, and so we said, okay, and 12 years later, we're still meeting mostly in our house every Friday.
Every Friday night.
But now
12 years later.
It is really a mixture of different people coming together. And as I told somebody the other night, when you meet in a home for your small group, there's a different dynamic than coming to the church. You would think of the church building, we come for meetings or Sunday school, but in a home, there's a whole different dynamic, a whole different conversation that takes place.
One of the great ministries that we had was twice a year at Easter, the Sunday before Easter, and then the Sunday before Thanksgiving, we'd have a joint worship service where all 7 of our ethnic churches in CIBC would come together in the gym, and we'd have a huge praise and worship service, and it was so much fun. We did that for years, and CIBC still carries that on.
We're a family of churches, and we historically, probably since the mid-90s, have shared spaces with multiple congregations, especially congregations made up of people from various ethnicities, backgrounds, different countries, different languages. And the joint worship services happen twice a year. So it's typically the first Sunday of November and the first Sunday of May. And they give our family of churches opportunity to come together and worship together. And so it's always been pretty neat to have, anywhere from 400 or 500, 600 people, probably from about 30 different countries, all worshiping at the same time through various languages. And all of our pastors participate in different ways and normally have different churches lead them out in worship. And we like to look at it a little bit of a taste of heaven type of experience. You look at Revelations and the vision of every tongue, every tribe standing before the throne. Those joint worship services give us a small taste of what we think that might look like one day. While all the adults were in the gym, the children would go up to the loft during the actual preaching. And so they had a very large children's church on those Sundays. And one of the things that became tradition is during that time, the children from the various congregations would all learn a song. And at the very end of the joint worship service, the children would come down, they would stand on the stage, and they would perform the song that they had just learned. And so this is a picture of Pastor Phil leading the children's choir of our family of churches, a children's choir that only existed on that day.
CIBC is special because of the diversity. There's people representing so many different corners of the world, and it feels like a little piece of heaven getting to worship alongside people from all over who speak different languages, who have different backgrounds. I love getting to worship beside people who probably grew up very differently than I, but we follow the same Jesus, and he loves us the same, and we worship the same God and follow the same gospel.
One of my favorite things about CIBC is just the diversity. That I love the fact that I have an opportunity to raise my children in a place where the world is here.
I enjoyed being a part of a church that was multinational and multi-race. And I've never been one that would turn down association with either another race or another nationality. And it's just been a good experience. And I used to be there every day, Merle and I both. And like I said, she served as a deacon for several years herself. And it was good to be able to be of service to the members of the church.
And our church has always been very, very colorful and very lively and very different. And we've loved it, we've learned to just love everybody in their own different ways.
Well, I just like it. The gospel is preached, the people are cooperative and get together real good. So it's just a good church to be in.
Our experience has definitely been just enhanced by the people that we have the privilege to serve alongside. I absolutely love how there's retired missionaries, seasoned workers that are able to encourage us, provide their wisdom and their counsel.
Don't try to be the melting pot where everybody brings their culture in and then they all start to blend and lose their flavor. Instead, keep it a salad bar where everybody keeps their distinctness and you just celebrate all the differences.
I think CIBC really helped me understand Acts 2 really well, seeing the early church, families that follow the Lord, follow Jesus, coming together and becoming family to one another.
It's been exciting, and of course we have a lot of challenges, but it's just beautiful to see every nation that are members of the Clarkston International Bible Church.
The fact that we gather here because we want to glorify God by making disciples locally and globally is just a huge driving force to just what how the church worships, how we serve. And it's definitely, I think, one of the things that makes the CIBC pretty special.
In 2021, I was invited to Camp Encounter by a friend of mine. I was an unbeliever at the time, but I came here thinking that if these people are not kind, I will just leave, like it's whatever. But then when I came here, I experienced a lot of love, a lot of hospitality, which was very genuine, and that really got me hooked. And then I kept coming back to the different events they were doing, and it's just the love they showed me that really got me connected.
I really feel alive, and it really changed my life, you know. It really changed my life. I used to drink, I'm alcoholic, but now I've been sober since 2004, so that's a miracle. You know?
Some of the things that drew so many people to this church is just the CIBC did a lot of like ministries aimed towards the community. So we had Upward Basketball, we had VBS, we had lots of block parties, and just a whole bunch of camps and different things that the church did. And it really drew a lot of people to come here, not only on the weekdays, but then also in the Saturday going into Sunday, which is when we worship.
My prayer is that, with CIBC, that we would never grow beyond our need for the gospel, that we would never get bored of it, and that we would never grow numb to the needs in the community.
My prayers would be that we would continue trying to be as biblical as we can. We would continue having our strong foundation in the Bible and in the community, that we would keep trying to reach the nations as we do through different ministries we have, like the Spanish ministry, Camp Encounter. We would keep reaching the neighbors that are coming here.
So I think it's a good place to come and bring your broken heart too. And, I'm a retired nurse, and people always say, oh, you proselytize, you're always doing things about Jesus, and, you tried to change people. And that's not it at all. It's a hurting world. And if I had a cure for cancer as a nurse, I would give it to everybody I knew. And it's the same way with Jesus. If you're broken, if you're hurting, if you're lost, if you're unloved, this is the place.
On a hill far away stood an old rugged cross. To someday for a crown. Just one.
That's beautiful.
So if you've been watching this and you're a former member of Clarkston Baptist Church or a current member of Clarkston International Bible Church, and you've been a part of this story, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for being faithful to the Lord. Thank you for making the necessary sacrifices to see this church, this expression of God's kingdom, just continue to thrive in this community that we love so much. And also, if you are watching this and perhaps you're a part of a church that's going through a similar challenge, a community experiencing a lot of change, and if your church is at the crossroads of really wrestling what to do in the future, our prayer would be that our story would encourage you, and that as God works in and through you, that your church would be able to love and serve well those that are coming to your community, perhaps from every corner of the globe. And if there's anything that we can do to be an encouragement or help to you, we would love to. And at the end of the day, we just want to give God all the glory for what he's done in the past, what he continues to do in the present, and what he's going to do in the future as he draws the nations to himself.